So after the kind of mild success of the other video I've done about how I've helped calm my child down, I just thought I'd give you another example which has a different set of techniques inside, and I thought it'd be quite useful. And again, it happened with my son, and it seems to be my youngest son. Maybe he's the wilder one, or has the most extreme reaction to things. But basically, he got very upset over something not happening. Got very upset, and he decided to leave the home. Decided to walk out in his socks and clothes he was wearing, and that was it. He was leaving home. And this is how I responded to it and how I brought him back home calmly. I suppose a lot of people would begin to think that it would be easier simply just to pick him up and simply to grab him and then bring him back home and deal with the situation at home. And I'm not too sure that always works. I kind of think there are clever ways of doing it. I mean, you're just exerting your physical presence on a child, and I'm not sure that really is helpful for them or gives any real skills to learn from. And I kind of think, yeah, we're all a bit cleverer than simply just kind of using our physical ability to pick up a child. And I guess there's a part of me that thinks it's also a bit fun to work out, can I help him or can I resolve this another way? And so, as I said, he got upset. I can't remember what it was about, but he was enough upset to say that was it. He was leaving, and he walked out the home, and he was walking down the street. Now, obviously, he's 8, and maybe not the greatest idea to have him walk down the street on his own and anticipate he'll come back. Now, there's a part of me that thinks maybe 5% will think actually he will come back on his own, but I do know a little bit. He may take about half an hour to come back. He may be wandering the streets a little bit, making his point. So I don't go down the route of ignoring it entirely. I take some action. And what I do is I also know he's walking. Also know that he's slightly ahead of me now, and rather than run or chase after him, I go and get my bicycle and I slowly cycle. And this is quite interesting because I've automatically trumped him. He could see me walk or run, and that will give me some response, and that would be one thing. But if he could see me cycling, he's got nothing. He can't ever outrun me because I'll always be faster. So I'd already psychologically won the situation. I began to tip it from doing that way. And then, though he did try and run for a little bit, which was quite funny, eventually I caught up with him. I wasn't going fast. I just kind of paced up to him, and he was just turning around a corner and was on another road. And I just cycled up to him, staying on the bicycle. I said, "How you doing?" And he began screaming and shouting and crying, upset, and saying, "Go away! I want to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to move out. I want to live my own." Really going for it. And this is probably what was similar to the other video. I remained calm. I just kind of I didn't let any of that become anything for me. I didn't let it resonate with me. I didn't let it fuel any thoughts. I just simply took it on board. And this kind of picks up on other things I mentioned in other videos. I then agreed with him. One of the things we can do when we feel we're trying to get to win a situation over is to kind of blast someone with our perspective, our way of doing things. And it can be that all they do is become more entrenched in their position and their thinking. And you can probably experience this either with children or with adults. It's where the more we push, sometimes they push back hard, and we just don't get anywhere. And one of the ways to get around that, in a very brief explanation, is to align yourself with that person. In this case, my son. Align them with what they're saying. And the simplest way of doing that is simply saying, yeah, okay. Start agreement. Start that process. It will get the biggest dramatic change of the person you're talking to or child that you'll normally see. And certainly better than trying to override their perspective on things with yours and your different way of looking at it. Start with alignment. So take that for other conversations. But with my son, I use this. Yeah, okay, fine. Well, look, I said, you're going to have to come back home to sign the paperwork because, if you're going to leave, I need to get all the legal stuff done so I can say that's it. You're now not kind of having to be looked after by me, and I don't just financially support you anymore. So there's a bit of paperwork. You have to sign some things and read some bits, but let's come back. which I know I was joking, but it was just kind of mind modelling it into his realm of having to leave. Sure, I'm trying to leave, but you need to come back and sign some documents. And I probably added, you might as well get some shoes on because you've got no shoes on right now. You need some shoes, won't you? I kept the tangible kind of humour to it at a minimum because I didn't want him to think I was taking the piss. It's about him understanding that I was, it was still genuine. So it's kind of slightly borderline, but it was me entering into his world. And he began to kind of scream back a little bit more, but it was not as intense as before. It wasn't as crying as much. So we began to diminish a little bit his initial feelings. And I said, it's cool if you want to leave, that's absolutely fine, but you need to come back. And I repeated this, and he began to settle down a bit, and he began to move around. But yeah, bear in mind, he hadn't actually walked away or carried on walking, he was still talking to me. And bearing in mind that I hadn't actually got off my bicycle, I was still sat on the bicycle, he was on the pavement. I hadn't invaded his space. I just gave him the time to just process what I was saying. But at that point, I also noticed something else, and this is a parent thing. I just got an energy or a sense that he really wanted a hug. And he said no, obviously, absolutely not. And I went, are you absolutely sure? You look like you might need a hug. No. I went, okay, well, fine. Well, if you need one, I'm happy to give you a hug, that's fine. But also need to get back to do the paperwork and get your stuff and so on. And I probably, after a little while, this kind of conversation, very similar conversations back and forth, they're not looking more dramatic than this. He seemed to kind of warm a little bit and come a bit close to me in the bicycle and said, let's try that hug out, shall we? And he came in for a nice hug. And he was still kind of in his zone, so I knew he wasn't completely out of it yet. I said, look, how about you sit on my kind of main part of the beam of the bicycle, and I'll steer us back home, because we're only around the corner. I'll steer us back home. Which completely changed his mood. He had actually gone from that, he'd calmed down on a slow curve, as it were, to this kind of little excitement on the bicycle. And he did, and we cycled, and it was actually quite fun because where it's positioned and how he was sat and what I was doing. So we had a bit of a giggle before we got home. And he got home, and we talked, and he was fine, and he felt heard. It's just an example of some of the techniques that can be really useful, which is having a clear, calm state of ourselves, then aligning ourselves with the person's issue, not trying to contrary it at all, and then just seeing what happens, see what plays out, trusting your senses, trusting your intuition. Once you're kind of calm, that's going to really help. But I just know that, again, there are so many other ways to handle a situation like that, to explode and create more issues, or to find an alternative way. And this is the way I do it, which is to go in calm, find ways to connect, communicate and understand, and then see if I can help and steer him back into a space that he can talk, where it's a little bit safer than the road or thinking he's moving out. So I hope you get something from that. I hope you get some more insight into me, how I parent, what I do, how I apply what I share, and how it works out. And we'll catch you next time.